Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to give you a couple really quick tips on how to get your service business up and running really quickly with what's called guerrilla marketing. Okay, we have a lot of traditional forms of marketing. Number one, you need a website, and you can use some Google ads. Definitely set up your keywords on your website, do your research and see what your SEO, search engine optimization, tells you about what keywords are popular. In our case, it's irrigation, sprinklers, sprinkler system, irrigation repair, sprinkler repair, so forth. So that's some of your traditional forms. There's also direct mail, which still works to some extent because there's not a whole lot of people doing it. It used to be, your mailbox would get crammed full of junk mail, that people would be sending out, but you don't see so much of that anymore. So direct mail is still a good option, but it takes a little while. And, conventional wisdom says that somebody has to see your name, your logo, your offering at least 5 or 6 times before it registers in their mind. Now, I'm going to show you a trick of using flyers, and it's very kind of top of the mind situation. You put these in the paper boxes, and this is really only effective if you have a mailbox and a paper box, a newspaper box underneath it or beside of it. Never, never, never put anything inside of a mailbox. Okay? That's against federal law. Don't do it because they want the postage for it to go through the system and go into the mailbox. Okay? And don't get clever and think, well, I'm not putting it in it, but I'm going to tuck it behind the flag or stuff it in something. Don't do it. I'm telling you not to do it. Unfortunately, I tell people things and they do it anyway, and it always blows up in their face. And I've had it kind of blow up in my face when I told people to drop off some flyers and told them what not to do. They thought they were clever and going to stuff it inside the flag or beside the flag in the mailbox. Then you're not marketing, you're littering, okay? Because no matter what, it's going to fall on the ground, it's going to blow away. Don't do that. Only do this if you have a newspaper box to stick it into. And a lot of newer subdivisions have standardized mailboxes that have a mailbox with a newspaper box underneath it. I find those in my area, some of the nicest neighborhoods, the neighborhoods that I like to be in, that I've been in for 20 years, they have that newspaper mailbox combination. But the first thing you need to do before we do this is check if you're inside city limits. Get on the directory for the city and find out who's in charge of compliance. Like, it may have some different names. It's, city ordinance compliance or, regulation compliance or something like that. You can call and ask somebody who to talk to, but ask them how they treat putting out flyers, and they may call it some different things. In some places it's called distribution of literature, and in some places I've seen a couple of counties that call this posting handbills. Now, posting handbills is actually a really, really old school term, and that was from back in the day that they would use glue and they would put flyers up on fences or on power poles or just anywhere they could find a spot to slap up some glue and put a flyer, and that was called posting handbills. Now, don't do this if there's any prohibition against it. Now, and also go and drive around once and look inside people's paper boxes and see if you see other flyers, other postcards, marketing materials, and kind of get a feel for whether or not that's an accepted practice in your area. I've only had maybe once or twice in 20 years anybody get mad about this, and you just have to check and see what the ordinance is and how they treat it. But if they don't have any ordinance against it, then go ahead and do it and see how it goes. In my area here in Greenville, South Carolina, in the county, if you're outside of the city in the county, there is a prohibition against it, but to get, the law to get you to stop it is that they have to send you like 2 certified letters, and then if you do it the 3rd time, they can give you a $500 fine. Basically, if anybody says they don't like it, I say, give me your address and I promise you'll never hear from me again. And then I had a master list, but to be honest with you, I probably only had ever 2 or 3 addresses of people that was raising Cain about me doing it. Usually people thank me for it. And you think it's kind of, You know, it is kind of a top of the mind situation. You're putting it out during good times at the beginning of the season, and now here in Greenville, we're going into the overseeding season in the fall for cool season grasses. You know, we kind of get a bump in business towards the end of the year as people are aerating and overseeding and kind of tearing up the irrigation system. So I actually went and put some of these out, but I grabbed one. This is my spring startup special. Okay, I recommend using an 8x10 or 8.5x11 sheet, 8.5x11, I think. Use the entire sheet. Okay, I've had people ask me what I did to get started, and then I tell them this, and then they do something different. I don't understand people, but do what you want to do. But some people will say, well, I can get more if I cut them in half or I cut them in fourths. No, use the entire sheet. My goodness, it's only 6 or 7 cents to get this printed at Office Depot or whatever. Black and white on a pastel yellow, okay? Yellow stands out the best. In fact, as far as I understand it, color-wise, the biggest contrast scheme is black on yellow. That's why school buses have that color scheme, okay? So use the entire sheet, black and white printing, on this sheet. And don't have a ton of stuff that you're trying to say. If you've got a website, have your website and your phone number on it. Your logo, and I'm going to redo this. The logo and my name doesn't stand out enough, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But have your offer on here. I built 3 irrigation businesses on the Spring Startup Special. Okay, $79 for up to 6 zones. We come in, we adjust your system, we run the system, walk through each zone, adjust every head, check the coverage pattern, see if anything needs to be replaced or moved or raised up. These heads sink down in the ground. But don't go crazy on this. Just have your one offer on there and make it a good one, right? The Spring Startup Special, and after spring, I call it the System Tune-Up Special, right? $79 up to 6 zones. $10 per each additional zone. Your market, if you're in Florida, California, New York, or wherever, you could probably get a lot more than that. South Carolina, this is a good place to start. Like I said, I've started 3 businesses, and this is the way I did it, by putting these flyers into mailboxes, okay? What you do is you ride around in your car, you go into a neighborhood, you have this on the seat next to you, facing you, logo facing you, so when you pull it up, pull it towards you, fold it, stick it in the box to where when it unfolds in that paper box, they can see it, right? Don't shove it all the way down in there. And if it's filled full of a bunch of stuff, just don't even put it in there. Go on to the next one. But you want it to fold and open up to where your logo is the first thing that they see. Okay, so when they pull it out of here, they come out to the mailbox, they get their mail, they look, they see that there's a flyer in the paper box, and they pull it out, and they're going to look at it, right? 99 out of 100 times they're going to look at it, and you've got about a second or a second and a half of attention to get them. So make sure that your logo, like I said, this needs to be a little stronger. So I'm going to redo this for next year and make sure that my name, Professional Irrigation Services, is a little larger and in bold print, solid print, and a little darker on the logo part, because you want them to see your name. As soon as they pull it out, they say, okay, Professional Irrigation Services, Spring Startup Special, and then it may go in the trash. But if they've been thinking about it, or they've got a leak, or they've got some landscape work coming up, they may take it and save it. And the common wisdom on this is that you only get that 1.5 seconds, but I've had hundreds of people tell me that they took my flyer and put it up on top of the refrigerator or into a file for, later purposes, that they knew they were going to need me, but they just didn't need me right that moment. So in any kind of, direct mail situation like this, or flyers, what you're going to get is maybe 1.5 to 2% return on that immediately, right? When you put out, let's say you put out 1,000 flyers, you may get 10 calls, 15 calls, 20 calls, somewhere right in there on that immediately within the next 3, 4, 5 days. But long term, you're probably going to get about a 5% return on that, up to 5%. If you're putting it out in the right neighborhoods that have irrigation systems or whatever it is you're trying to market, make sure that you're in a good neighborhood with good homes of a certain value and above. People got some money, they're like taking care of their yards or whatever system it is. And it's, it gets you started really quickly. And I've been up and running, sometimes making money and profitable within a month or two by using this system. Okay, so take my advice with a grain of salt, do what you want to with it, but this is great guerrilla marketing to get you up and running. There's a lot of other things that we can talk about, getting up with the HOAs and getting on their website, the Nextdoor app and things like that. And we'll cover those in some later videos. But if it's acceptable in your area, man, these flyers are a super inexpensive way to get your name out there and start getting some business right away.